The House of Bob is made possible in part by Legend 7 Brewing and by support from listeners like you. To pledge your support, visit patreon.com/thehouseofbob. Welcome to the epilogue of House of Annihilation. We wanted to get some closure on the end of the adventure, talk about where everyone ended up, and the fate of the world moving forward. If you want to hear more about our campaign and games behind the scenes, join our Patreon to get access to the director's commentary, where the cast will break down every episode, talk about game theory, secrets of the campaign, and the characters, and more. As the thundercrack of Asarak's sudden teleportation echoes through the chamber, a rumble shakes the foundations of the tomb. Huge chunks of rock, masonry, and metal begin to break off from the ceiling, splashing into the pit of lava. The heat within the room intensifies. Douglas, Krait, Lee, and more see that the white mist covering the far archway has dissipated, revealing a shimmering blue portal. Everyone rushes across the gap, leaping from balconies onto floating chunks of rock, avoiding bursts of lava and steam as they traverse into the portal. As you step through the portal, the intense heat and tremors fade away, and you feel a refreshing coolness on your skin. Lee and Douglas feel the power of the trickster gods fade away as the spirits release them from their bond. Moore looks around, and he sees the familiar sights of the lost city of Omu. Krait, however, is nowhere to be seen. In the distance, the royal palace rumbles, and then begins to collapse, huge blocks of stone tumbling into the streets. Suddenly, in front of you, a crackling circle of pink energy opens up right in front of you, and a white-robed woman steps through, smiling joyfully at the sight of you. Sindra Sylvain. She spreads her arms wide and embraces each of you. "Hello, fierce pirates. It seems you've succeeded where the rest of the world has failed. The curse is ended." Sindra brings you back to Port Nyanzaru. Feasts are held in your honor. Celebrations are thrown from Chult to Neverwinter as the world realizes that they are now free from the clutches of Asarak. For now. Let's go around the table. What happens to each of your characters in the years that follow? How about you, Lee?
Lee heads back to the port. She gets to roll for one of those sweet items from Sylvain.
She does, yeah. So you're going to be rolling on Magic Item Table I, which is all the best stuff, because it's the end of the campaign. You'll never get to use it, so...
Yeah, but it adds cool flavor.
Absolutely.
I forget the first item I rolled, but it wasn't applicable to me. It was something for like warlocks or something along those lines. But the second thing I rolled was a cubic gate.
Okay, what is a cubic gate?
It is a cube, and it basically lets me go to different planes. So you press it like a button on one of the sides, and it'll open up a gate in front of you, and then you get to walk through it to go to a different plane.
Oh, very cool.
Super cool. And apparently, I was reading up on it, you can actually use it to like teleport places. So you can...
So even within the same plane?
Yeah. So you have to go to a different plane, but then you can teleport back to that plane in a different spot.
Okay, cool.
Very cool. So after that, she pays a visit to Darg and basically chews him out for being like the worst captain of all time, for being a coward and for, basically abandoning us and, letting all of his crew die.
He's beside himself when he sees you come back and filled with grief and emotion, and seeing that the rest of your crew has died. You're the one survivor to come back. He takes you to where he's made a grave for Haxale and tells you about how he could see what was happening to you when you were in the tomb. It was like he was seeing two lives at the same time. It brought me back to when I was in there, and when Haxale fell, and the hag, she had tore down so many of the crew. She came and whispered into my ear that there was only one way to end this, and that was to leave and take Haxale. But one day I'd have to return. Thank you for doing this, Lee. You've saved Haxale's soul. You've saved us. The whole world. I can never repay you. I don't doubt that I deserve your hatred. I'm sorry. He leaves you at the grave, and he walks away. And I don't think you ever see him again.
That's fine. That's fine by me. I'm almost glad he got to see what we went through.
Yeah, he was there with you the whole time.
Yeah, it's a burden that he should have to bear as well, even if he wasn't technically there. So after that, Lee heads back out into the forest after spending some downtime in the port, and she meditates in the forest, waiting for a new companion to show up. And a small cougar cub shows up, very similar to town, and obviously she takes him in and names him Boondock, which is a great name.
Glad you think so. Does Boondock have another connection, or is this why do you name him Boondock?
It's just it's another word for like a location.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
Okay, I wasn't sure.
Yeah, no, it is.
Okay. Define : Boondock. Boondocks, rough, remote, or isolated country. Ooh. So you're getting more remote. I like that.
Yeah. After that, she's gonna basically follow in Rille and Gondolo's footsteps and take up being a tour guide in the jungle. The funny thing is, she actually knows where she's going. Kinda. Alright, so after that, she basically is kind of done with this world. In her mind, she's spent her time here for a number of years, just kind of doing the tours and all that and taking people into the jungle. And she decides to finally crack out the cubic gate. And that's when she just pushes the button. Doesn't matter where she's going. And she just steps through it with Boondock.
On to another adventure. That is a beautiful ending for Lee. I think next we might as well go to Douglas. Not our first to join the party, but almost our first real hero to join the party. So Douglas.
Yeah.
Hero of the Water Ganassi. What happens to you after all of this tumult?
He becomes actually estranged with his family. It's a little bit like everything that's happened has changed him as a person, both physically and actually. I mean, he's never really been able to shake the evil that was in the tomb. Like, also, not just metaphysically, but he has still that one of the Sohn sisters is like basically inside him now forever.
The contents of the soul bag.
Mm-hmm. So in that way, even though he's proud of what he's done, he's just never going to be the same person again.
Absolutely.
Yeah. But I think so with that in mind, he's going to spend all his money that he's earned and the knowledge of his family to actually track down Acererak, because he just is so mad that he got away.
Going for the big bad.
Yeah, exactly.
That, and like, really, that's a whole campaign on itself. Mm-hmm. Like, Acererak he's a demi-lich. He's got phylacteries out in the middle of nowhere cosmos. Probably every single one of them protected inside another tomb, just like the one you just survived. You're setting yourself up for more of this, really. Is Douglas ready for that? Does he know that that's what's coming for him?
I think he knows that. It's mostly more like he doesn't want anyone else, especially in his family, to ever have to do that again.
Right.
But of course, I think that shows his naivete still to this day, because I'm sure that no matter how much he wipes out, there's always going to be that hint of evil that you can never truly get rid of.
Where your ancestors' legacy was that they would be there to literally talk to you with their wisdom. Mm-hmm. Douglas's legacy is that he's going to take on the burdens of all these future potential adventurers and try and make sure that this is done for good.
For sure. I mean, and that's one of the nice things about his family is that, I mean, he can draw on all of that knowledge, but then on the flip side is, I think, after it's over, I don't know, I never actually decided if he actually lives to old age or dies in the tomb. I think that's a left up to the imagination scenario, but
oh, totally.
Yeah, I just think that's one of those things where he's done being alive. He'll be the first of his kind to never come back.
Well, maybe one day you run back into Lee.
Maybe.
What did you roll for your magic?
No. Dan is shaking his head. No.
No, I'm done with you. What did Douglas roll for magic item?
I rolled for the iron flask, which, I think will come in handy in this world of chasing down Acererak.
Cool. This is where I really like the way the dice play out, because rolling the iron flask, Ganassi are like descendants of Ginny. Mm-hmm. The iron flask can capture any creature inside it. You help to free the Tao within the tomb. Mm-hmm. Like, oh man, layers. I love that. Very, very cool. Anything else to add for Douglas?
No, that's really it. Like, he basically spent his life with the tomb, and it's gonna haunt him for the rest of his remaining life, unfortunately.
A tragic life and a tragic end.
But for the greater good.
Absolutely. We say farewell to Douglas as he wanders off into the planar sunset, searching for the phylacteries of his nemesis, Acererak. And we move on to Moore, the Dragonborn. Tell me about Moore. Tell me more about Moore.
I was kind of definitely split over a lot of different things as to how Moore would have handled being out of the tomb. And I think that may have sort of come from Moore's inception of just sort of being like this broken, fractured kind of character, lost in a mirror trap inside of the tomb for so long. When Moore receives a legendary item from Sindra Sylvain, it was a choice between two items, and the first item, it was just too thematic. I couldn't pass it up. It was the Ring of Invisibility. He doesn't have to see himself anymore, that no one else can see him. And so echoing the feeling of like, now he's free from the tomb, but that sense of freedom isn't endearing. He's still kind of trapped within himself.
Does it come with a sort of agoraphobia as he enters into this wider space now?
I think so. Like he's had this dream of the sea. And so he knows that he needs to be back out onto the ocean, but lacks the confidence anymore. He took the power from the Atropal that was his patron in the tomb, and now he has that power within him, but he still has this need to recede into himself. And I think that invisibility sort of gives him that ability.
Cool.
But the necessity to get out onto the ocean has prompted him to purchase a boat, name it the Crying Gorgon, because the quest that he did before getting into the tomb was slaying a Gorgon and stealing her wooden ship, which he used in the final battle.
Absolutely.
And so the Crying Gorgon, I figured, would have a great figurehead of a headless Gorgon holding up the shard of the broken mirror that he was trapped inside of for so long and carried with him. There's some layers there for Moore. And I think that Moore would hire a crew and have a captain that answered only to him, but no one else knew that Moore was on the boat. So Moore could maintain his invisibility and sort of had a crew of his own.
A ghost captain.
He was the ghost captain of the Crying Gorgon.
Very badass.
Yeah. And then I think I was kind of imagining sort of like following Douglas slightly to wherever Douglas needs to go, but I don't think Douglas would. I think Douglas would shake us pretty well.
Yeah. Well, yeah, Douglas is not bound by ship nor sea.
No, exactly.
You know, very, very cool. I like the idea of Moore there, like shadowing this captain as they move out onto the sea. And are they pirating? Or are they just adventuring? What are they doing?
Moore has roots in pirating.
Yeah.
But I think the captain that he hires will also have a little bit of say into what direction they can go into as well.
So Moore now he's got a whole crew to keep him company, but they don't know it.
Exactly.
And he sets sail over the horizon, becoming Blackbeard, the ghost pirate. I love it.
Exactly.
Well, with that, we might as well move on to the more lizardy of our traveling companions, Krait, who we didn't see when they escaped the tomb. I wonder where he got off to. What do you think, Jake?
I have a prepared statement. With the Black Opal crown in his possession, and the competition Acererak defeated, Krait returns to the Fane. The crown, fused to his head, whispers promises of power, glory, and revenge, and Krait is consumed by its singular desire and purpose, his mind overridden by the artifact's indomitable will to summon Dendar the Night Serpent to this plane and bring an end to the world. He travels with Fenthaza and the other Yuan-Ti to the Peaks of Flame, where the gargantuan iron doors holding Dendar at bay stand fast. After days of preparation and ritual, Krait utters the final words, but is met with a terrible silence as nothing happens. They try again and again, but something is wrong. The ritual fails. The doors remain sealed, and the sun remains high in the midday sky, mocking their failure. Krait, with his grasp on reality slipping further away as the crown's evil influence consumes him, decides on a desperate course of action. He will travel to the Fugue Plane,
where Dendar rests and entreat her himself. Krait looks towards his former mistress Fenthaza solemnly as the difficult truth dawns on him. He knows that the simplest way for him to reach the fugue plane is as a shepherd of mortal souls, ferrying them to the afterlife. Krait turns his magic on Fenthaza and his UNT comrades with frantic conviction, slaying each one in a brutal battle. As he stands over their fallen bodies, empowered by the crown and the will of his dark patron, he gathers their wayward souls and with a burst of shadowy energy disappears from the material plane.
So you're the new big bad evil guy,
Possibly.
or one of several.
Depends on how much funding we get for season 2.
And with that, we'll direct you all to our Patreon. That would be a fun game to play. I think you would have to DM it, though.
Yeah, probably, yeah. Someday.
Yeah. I don't know if there's anything I can add there. That is basically the perfect ending I can picture for Krait. Or not even ending, a new beginning.
It's just getting started.
Yeah. He's a true avatar now at this point. He's got the power of Dendar. He's probably got 5 extra levels. He's really,
I was thinking 7 or 8, but yeah.
at least, more than makes up for the not getting a legendary item from Zindroso Sylvain, right?
Yeah.
All right.
And only ever having 1 magic item when these guys had 2 or 3.
Yeah, exactly.
Outrageous. Outrageous.
Short change, and now you're coming back with a vengeance. Well, with that, we will take a look at some of the other members of our campaign. Some of those who fell along the way. I know Alex has something he wanted to add about Horik. So tell us about Horik.
Well, Horik is dead.
Oh, what?
Long live Horik.
Long live Horik. Horik Jones.
Horik Jones. Little known to the rest of the party, but you revealed this to me when we sat down tonight. I mean, I guess the rest of the party knows this because we're all sitting here.
We're all here.
But I like to think that Lee and Douglas don't know this, because if they do, it's offensive. But you told us that Horik's soul was not consumed by the soulmonger.
The Tropol did not suck it out of the soulmonger and consume it, so it's still floating around out there somewhere.
Yeah, well, I mean, the tomb is a pretty deep place, so it got released from the soulmonger.
Yeah.
And little known to the party, Horik's soul is trapped in the tomb. The tomb seems to be dead set on keeping someone from the High Havoc in the tomb.
Ooh.
So Lee and Douglas, assuming that Horik is gone forever, after they return to Port Nyanzaru, feel that Horik deserves a proper send-off. And they place a set of shackles, unshackled, and a compass on a raft, set it ablaze, and push it out to sea.
Viewers at home can't tell, but there's tears streaming from my eyes right now.
Mine, yeah, we'll say mine too.
That's a beautiful end too.
Yeah.
I like the dichotomy there that Lee and Douglas are like, yeah, we laid him to rest. We're such good friends. And here and here Horik is. There's still unfinished business here.
Yeah.
I really like that.
So if someone returns to the tomb, it's possible they might come across Horik.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
If you're doing a Tomb Annihilation homebrew, listeners, Horik Jones, level 3 of the tomb. You know which room I'm talking about.
Yep.
He'll be there.
Dual wielding when he's not allowed to.
And if they didn't get Bob the Battle Axe back when they left Tinder, then it's going to be here.
Yep.
I love it. Fantastic work. We've got another couple companions that we haven't heard from yet, and I think it's important that we get Schubert in front of the mic, but he's not here. So Schubert, unfortunately, cannot be here for the epilogue, but I know you'll hear more of him from director's commentary, and I definitely want to give you his ideas that he thought happened for Rille and Gondolo. Now, he was wishy-washy about it, and he picked 3. So I'm going to put all 3 out here into the ether, and our listeners will decide which one is in their personal heart. Schubert's first idea was that somehow Rille and Gondolo managed to make their way back to Port Nyanzaru. Somehow Zongo's here too. alive and well, and they have just enough treasure for a lengthy binge of feasting and drinking. However, in short order, they run out of funds, resort to selling themselves as guides once again, kind of perpetuating the cycle, but this time they get to be slightly more competent than when they first started. His second idea was that the camera just pans up, out of darkness we see some sand on a beach, calm waves lapping up against the shoreline, some palm trees in the background, and there's Rille, Gondolo, and Zongo all in lawn chairs, sipping on ice-cold margaritas. Zongo's got his own personal masseuse, and somehow his gastrointestinal distress has finally gone away. Idea number 3, I think it's probably my favorite. As Rille and Gondolo are just reuniting with Zongo in Omu. It's that same week that they escaped from the Fane, and they just missed meeting up with the rest of the group. Suddenly there's a crack and a snap as Acererak suddenly appears out of thin air just in front of Rille and Gondolo. He's battered and bloodied. He's at 4 hit points, guys. 4 hit points. Rille, in a panic, throws his sword. It lands squarely in the Lich's forehead, destroying him. The body crumples to dust and blows into wind as Gondolo asks, "What was that all about?" "I don't know, Gondolo. I don't know." With that, we'd like to thank you all for listening, and we'll see you in 2 weeks. Roll on! If you enjoyed the show and want to support what we do, number one way is to leave us a 5-star review on iTunes. Furthermore, follow us on Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram. Share our new episodes on social media. Visit the House of Bob merch website on Etsy for House of Bob zines, dice trays, art prints, and more. And by joining the House of Bob Discord server to hear all the new episodes 3 days early. Artwork for this episode was by Shaun Makes of Instagram.com/Shaun Makes. Audio production was provided by Astronomic Audio, the 100% Canadian-owned and operated podcast editing service that makes your big ideas sound even bigger. Music was produced by Kevin MacLeod of Incompetech.com and is licensed under Creative Commons by Attribution 3.0. House of Bob is made possible by our lovely Patreon supporters, including Rob, Bluckett12, Jessica, Kieran Duffy, Mike from the Glass Guarded World podcast, Sylvia, Luke Conroy, and Volt. If you want to support us, head over to patreon.com/thehouseofbob.